So, Nicolás Maduro, he's a name you hear a lot, and he's easily one of the most controversial leaders out there. But how did this all happen? How did he get to power? How on earth is he holding on to it? And what's been the staggering cost for Venezuela? Let's break it down. Okay, so to really get a handle on Maduro, you first have to wrap your head around Venezuela's total collapse. We're talking about a nation that went from the top to rock bottom in what feels like the blink of an eye.
You know, it's hard to even picture now, but it wasn't that long ago that Venezuela was an absolute powerhouse in Latin America, just swimming in oil wealth. Fast forward to today, and that picture, it's gone. It's been replaced by a country just crippled by hyperinflation, where things like food and medicine are luxuries, and literally millions have had no choice but to flee.
So this all brings us back to some really big questions, right? Who is the man at the heart of this collapse? How did he get to the presidency in the first place? And the big one, how is he still in power when everything has gone so wrong?
Well, Maduro's path to the presidential palace, it wasn't what you might expect. He wasn't some charismatic, revolutionary figure, nope. It was a slow, methodical climb up the ladder.
His story really starts in working-class activism. He started out as a bus driver and a union leader in Caracas. But once he hitched his wagon to Hugo Chávez's socialist movement, his rise was pretty steady. First the National Assembly, then he becomes foreign minister, and then, and this is the key move, he's appointed vice president. That put him in the perfect spot to be the chosen successor.
And here's the thing you have to understand about his rise. It wasn't about brilliant ideas or some magnetic personality. It was all about loyalty. Inside Chávez's tight inner circle, Maduro was seen as the guy you could count on. He was disciplined, obedient, the safe pair of hands who would never, ever step out of line or challenge the boss.
So Chávez dies, and Maduro steps in. But think about it. The economy is already tanking. He doesn't have Chávez's popularity. So how did he manage to hang on? Well, it looks like the answer is in a very specific, very detailed playbook for control. All right, let's look at some of these alleged tactics used to control elections. First up, you've got phantom voters. This is where they supposedly use voter lists that are full of people who've died or duplicate names just to pump up the numbers. Then there's assisted voting, which sounds helpful, but it's really an intimidation tactic. You have pro-government people literally helping you at the voting machine. Throw in some really suspicious blackouts right when the opposition's numbers start to climb, and then block independent international observers from even coming in, and you start to see a pretty clear picture of a system that's anything but.
And look, this isn't just the opposition shouting from the sidelines. In 2017, the company that actually supplied the voting machines, a company called Smartmatic, blew the whistle. They went public and straight up accused the government of adding more than 1 million fake votes to the count. That is a huge deal. They cut ties with Venezuela right after that.
But the playbook for control, it goes way beyond just messing with votes. You also see them just barring or even arresting major opposition leaders. They control the media, flooding it with state propaganda. And the Supreme Court? It's filled with loyalists. It's this all-out, multi-front strategy to lock down power from every possible direction. So this web of control, it gets even darker. We're not just talking politics anymore. There are incredibly serious accusations that the Maduro government is basically operating as a narco state. At the center of all this is something called the Cartel de los Soles, or the Cartel of the Suns. Now, this isn't your typical cartel with a single kingpin. It's the name for this alleged network, a shadow network of top military and government officials who are accused of using their power to move drugs, run illegal mining operations, and launder a ton of money.
And the evidence linking the government to this stuff, it's not just rumors. Get this, 2 of Maduro's own nephews were caught by the DEA. They were convicted in a U.S. court for trying to smuggle 800 kilograms of cocaine. I mean, that's about as direct a connection to the president's inner circle as you can get.
These accusations are taken so seriously that the U.S. government has actually put a price on his head, a reward of up to $50 million for information that leads to his arrest on charges of narco-terrorism. Okay, but it's really important to add a bit of nuance here. While the allegations are incredibly severe and the evidence around a circle is pretty strong, that smoking gun, the direct proof of Maduro himself giving operational orders, that's still thin and contested. And that's probably by design, right? The whole system is kept intentionally murky, making it almost impossible to trace the exact chain of command.
So you've got this political control, this economic nightmare, these allegations of criminality. All of it comes at a price. A real, devastating human price. And the people of Venezuela are the ones paying it.
You don't have to take my word for it. Major international groups, the UN, Human Rights Watch, they've all documented a truly grim reality. Their reports are filled with evidence of unlawful killings, people disappearing, the systematic torture of prisoners, and the use of these armed civilian gangs, the colectivos, to violently crush any opposition.
And the scale of this crackdown is just staggering. Just look at the aftermath of the disputed election in July 2024. Human Rights Watch reported that more than 2,000 people were detained just for protesting.
And it wasn't a temporary thing. By early 2025, an NGO called Foro Penal had counted 1,697 political prisoners still locked up from that crackdown. That tells you this is a sustained, ongoing campaign of political persecution. So where does all this leave us? Well, it's a pretty sobering place. The story of how Venezuela collapsed seems tragically clear, but the path forward? That's anything but. You have this once proud, prosperous nation that's been hollowed out, its wealth, its democracy, all of it gone. And it just leaves you with this one haunting question. Can Venezuela ever really recover?